Hello, everyone, and welcome back. The last time you joined me, I was over in Jasper National Park in Alberta, and now I'm excited to say that I'm still in the Rockies, but I am in British Columbia. And this is my first time here on the BC side of the Rockies, and I'm actually in Kootenay National Park. And right now, you see me entering a trail. And what I'm doing is this really beautiful, unique trail I've been super excited about. And it's called Paint Pots. But I'm going to do the whole trail that takes me from here to Paint Pots all the way up to Marble Canyon. And then I'm just going to loop back around. So I'm very excited. I read about this trail a lot on the internet. And it just looks absolutely gorgeous with all the colors it offers. So let's get on going. So I'm just making my way down to the Paint Pots area. It's only going to be about a 2 kilometer trek in, and that's from where I started at the parking lot there at the beginning. But you can see before I'm getting anywhere near the Paint Pots, I'm only about maybe 500 meters in, and I've already approached the glacier lake that's running through. So you see up there, there's the bridge that's going to gap a safe passage for us over it. Although the stream, it's not actually as wide and deep as you may think at first. And I'm going to just go up closer to give you a better view of it. Because it's pretty accessible, so why not get up close? Let me see my shadow there. So this is the water, and of course you can tell by the color here, that kind of very soft turquoise bluish color, that it's a glacier fed lake. So it does run all the way down and through these mountains here, so you can see off into the distance. It just keeps going, and the trail that I'm going to take doesn't go that direction. It actually heads this direction. So we're going to cross this bridge so we can continue on to the Paint Pots Trail. You can see that's where the glacier lake is running from. The canyon is up that way. And that's essentially where the trail is going to take us. I love this bridge too. I have a fascination with bridges, and luckily they're pretty common here in the Rockies, so we can gap the river crossing. But you can tell the river's, it's pretty calm. Like obviously the water's rushing, but it's not rapid, and it's not very deep either. But I still wouldn't recommend crossing through the river. I was just letting the people pass behind me before I moved forward with the camera. So that's the direction we will eventually head. But first we're going to keep going straight. And what this trail is going to do for the next 1.5 kilometers is sort of just loop around the back here and lead us out to the Paint Pots area. And you're going to realize we're at Paint Pots the moment the camera reveals it, because of the very gorgeous and bright, vibrant colors of Paint Pots. And it's so gorgeous. I've never seen anything like this in the Rockies before. And this is a really, it's not super busy right now, but it's a really popular spot because of the color.
Gosh, the trees smell amazing.
So something that's really fascinating about Kootenay National Park that I learned, oh, see, there it is. You can see that color starting to reveal itself. But as I was saying, something really fascinating about Kootenay is that the park is often referred to as the Park of Fire and Ice. And this trail here is such a perfect example of how that is so true of Kootenay, because right here you see the fire, you see the bright red, vibrant orange colors that the park offers, and then just before we got here you saw the great color of blue and the turquoise color of the lake, right? So that's your ice color, and here is your fire color. So this is a really unique trail because it really highlights both of those colors that is really, really common here in Kootenay. So that's why I was super excited to do this trail for my first one here in Kootenay on the BC side of the Rockies, just because it is the Park of Fire and Ice. It gives you the best of both worlds, right? It's literally yin and yang. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So here I am just starting to get out into the fire part here. So you can see the vibrant color up close. And I should say that this area actually, it's a very unique cold mineral spring, which is called the Paint Pots. And the reason why you're seeing this very vibrant orange kind of reddish color is because the local iron has percolated into the clay, which gives the area that very bright and beautiful orange color that you're seeing right now. And like I had mentioned before, this very vivid color is what makes this area such a tourist hotspot. So I was doing a little bit of research before I got here, of course, because I like to plan out all of my trails that I trek and some really unique areas that I want to see and highlight, like the unique parts of Kootenay. And of course, this one really spoke to me. And I really liked the story about paint pots. I was reading up on it. And so what I found about it is that paint pots here are formed by the accumulation of iron oxide that bubbles up from the mineral springs. And so before the 20th century, they were actually a major source of ochre pigmentation for the indigenous people of the area. And apparently, allegedly, they collected it to use as a dye for their paintings and their pictographs and even their clothing. So the area has very deep roots in history. And it was very fascinating to me, and it spoke to me because I thought that was very unique, that it could offer the community, the people, something so unique like that. So I thought it was very neat. I wanted to come check it out for myself. And of course, it doesn't disappoint. You can see how vibrant the color is. Yeah. And it's a pretty smooth trek to go up too. You see the little water creaking down the side here. I am walking in clay, but I mean this is a bit of water here, but where I'm walking it's not wet ground, so the clay doesn't have that sort of feeling when you step on it, your foot suction cups into the ground. You don't get any of that around here. So it's a really nice and pretty flat terrain to be trekking upon. It's quite easy, and I've only made it in. This is about 2 kilometers in, and it's been a super easy hike. You can see I'm trying to be careful, but I caught a glimpse of them earlier. There's kids here, right? And so it's a super easy trail to bring the family on it, and it's just so gorgeous. And it's not something that you're gonna get to see in other parts of the Rockies. This is very unique to the area. So this is just a little pond here. We got a couple ones to the side here. I'm just trying to be careful because there's some kids around, so I'm trying not to get their faces on the camera here. You see the one throwing rocks in the puddle. So this is Paint Pots. This is the area that people trek into. So like I said, it takes about 2 kilometers to get here. I'm just going to show you around a little bit. I'm just keeping the camera forward because I'm trying to avoid the kids. But as I see them move off to the side, I can reveal more of the scene to you here. So yeah, this is it. This is Paint Pots. I know it may seem a little underwhelming, especially when you reach the summit of a mountain or you're at a glacier lake and it's rushing water, or you're in a canyon. But this is just so unique because of the color and the chemical reaction within the clay that produces this kind of vibrant natural color. And it's so cool, just that this is really the only place here that I could find personally, that offers this kind of visual experience. So you can see what I'm doing here is Paint Pots connects to a place called Marble Canyon. And I actually had to drive past the opening for Marble Canyon on the highway down here. And I knew what I wanted to do was start at Paint Pots and then go to Marble Canyon. One, because Marble Canyon, it's right off the highway, so it's super, super accessible. But that also means that tons of people stop there and cars get kind of piled up and it's super, super busy. So I wanted to come around to the other side, start at Paint Pots, and then hike into the canyon. So this is just a bit of the backcountry hiking that I'm doing right now. And you can't see it just yet. And actually, I can't see it, but I just know because from doing the trail, I know that, yeah, so there's the sign telling us which ways we're going. So I know I got to turn this way to go to Marble Canyon. And that sign there was just telling me that I still have 3.4 kilometers until I get to the canyon. So it's a decent trek, but not a hard trek, because as you can see, the land here is all relatively flat. And even though the trail itself that I'm on, it's pretty narrow, but it's very clear, right? So it's not like some of the mountainous terrains I was doing before, but this is a really fun one. I'm really enjoying the lushness, actually. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's given me some shade because for the first 2.5 kilometers, I was out in the sun. And you can tell it's a very clear day. The sun's very high, very warm. So it's nice to get into the shade here. And speaking of the shade, I'm about to leave it again. But you can see this nice open slope here. Again, that beautiful clay color. An open area. It's just kind of a randomly situated area, but it's gorgeous. You can see the mountain of so clearly, which is lovely. So I'm just giving you a moment to kind of take it in. It's just this bit of open area here, just randomly placed. I was actually surprised when I stumbled upon it. So I see the trail just ahead, so I'm going to keep on moving forward shortly, but just letting you see the surrounding area. Beautiful, vibrant color. So again, there's the trail. I'm going to go ahead and continue. And I walked maybe another 20 feet, and I got another little open area here. Not as big as the last one, but still just as vibrant and beautiful. You can see that sun up there, very big, bright, and warm. So at this point, I'm not exactly walking on a mountain or even on the side of a mountain, at least not yet. But what I'm doing is this trail is leading me alongside the river, and you can't see it just yet, but I know the river is there to my right hand side just because of the way the trail runs. It does run alongside the river all the way up to the canyon, but as I proceed down the trail, you'll start to see the lake come more into, or the river, sorry, it'll come more into view. And that's the river that we had initially crossed over on top of the bridge. So right now we're just sort of walking alongside the river, nestled in by the mountains, in between the mountains. We're not on top of them. We're not even on the side of it yet. We're just still on nice flat ground. All right, Marble Canyon coming up. Some more signs leading us to where we gotta go. There's some other trails around here too, mainly just because some of them loop back around. It doesn't get confusing. Everything's very clearly marked, as you can see with the signs there. But as I was saying, there it is. There is the Glacier River running through. This is what we had seen initially when we first crossed the bridge. And now we're getting closer and closer to the canyon. And so that makes us kind of get down more towards the river. We had initially went down kind of back through paint pots and then almost circled back up around in a way, and now we're hugging this river. So of course I got to get up close because I love water and it's just gorgeous. You can tell like it is rushing, of course. There's definitely some speed and some strength to it, so I don't recommend going in it. But it's not deep. Or is it? I don't know. I didn't go in it. No, it looks pretty shallow, but of course that can be very deceiving. I just love the mountain ranges on the side here. Like I said, we're not on top of the mountains. We're getting a different perspective of them this time. We're down by the rushing water. We get to look up at the mountains as we're kind of trekking in between and through the mountains. And this gives us a nice different perspective, almost inferior to the imposer, essentially. That's the view we're getting right now of the mountains. So I still got about 2 kilometers left of the hike here. You can see I'm starting to go slightly up the mountainside to my left. Very mild incline. You can see that the terrain is a little bit rocky here, signifying, you know, that we're on the mountain, of course. And you can tell now that the water seems much more beneath us than it was before. As we were walking along here, we were very on par, on level with it. Now we're up slightly. And that's going to continue to gradually increase as we get more and more towards the canyon itself. So this part of the trail, it takes us off a little bit from the water. You can kind of see the water there in the bottom right of the corner. It takes us off to the side. It's kind of looping us back around, just because it's the way that we got to hike up to the canyon. And I'm just getting some nice footage of these beautiful flowers. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of them. I have been told by other people on the trail that these flowers, these beautiful pink flowers that you see behind me here, looking like it's an open, gorgeous little meadow, they're typically one of or the first flowers and plants and vegetation to start growing after wildfires. And if you're familiar with the area of Kootenay National Park, you probably know that in 2003 it was unfortunately ravished by some out of control wildfires. And so you can see a lot of destruction here, especially off in the distance there on the left hand side, all the dead trees and the dead vegetation up the mountain. But of course you can tell too that there's lots of new vegetation. So it's been about a decade and it's already rehabilitating itself, which is really beautiful. But see, so you can see the destruction here. But then you see all the new growth. So, you know, it's very hopeful. So again, we kind of went up the mountain a little bit at the side of it. Very, very small incline. We're a little bit further away from the water, but that kind of changes. We go up a little bit and then down a little bit and then close to the water, then far away from the water. And that's kind of the fun thing about this trail. It kind of teases you all the way along up until you get to the canyon. So there's that water, just absolutely gorgeous. That direction is where we're headed. That's where the canyon is. Right now you can tell that it's open right up into a river, and this is a river we've been following the whole time up. But as we get closer to the canyon, you'll see how the water starts to get, the running water, the river itself, it starts to get much more narrow. And then we see that formation of the canyon before here, where you see it become a wide river. So it's very neat how in just a short period of time and in a short distance, the water changes like that. So I'm just doing a series of some quick cuts here just to kind of get us up to the canyon. Again, you can see we kind of went up and then we came back down again. So I know it's a series of quick cuts, but I just want to get us through this. Even though I love marveling at the water, I do want you guys to see the canyon. I want to have enough time to show you. And speaking of which, there it is. So it was pretty quick. I did have to go up a little bit, maybe walked another 200 meters around, and now we're on top. You can also see the highway just beyond the canyon there. I drove in on that highway and circled around and went down to Paint Pots. But you can see how close it is to the highway, which a lot of the Rockies is like that, right? The highway runs right through everything because how else would we access anything? But look at that, just that gorgeous water. So right now, again, you can see how it's starting to narrow even more, right? So we're starting to get that first look of the canyon. You can see how it's carved through the limestone. The water is not rushing too much here. It's a little bit more calm. But don't let that fool you, because it's probably a lot deeper here, and it's probably much more powerful than it looks. But see, this is how you can see how narrow it is. And then where we came from, you can see how it starts to fan out into a wider river. Now up there, you can see the water is rushing quite significantly. So I'm just going to keep making my way up the canyon here and giving you the views of it. And you're just going to gradually see how we get up higher and higher and higher, and the canyon itself starts to get a little bit more narrow. And the canyon itself, the reason why it's narrow like this is because the water, it's being fed from a glacier that's far off in the distance. And this rushing water has come through the limestone and essentially just eroded the limestone and carved its own way through it to create this kind of natural canyon. And you see this a lot in the Rockies. It's quite common. So there's that gorgeous rushing water. I'm going to try and get up nice and close for us. I'm going to do something that's going to make my mom nervous, but I'm going to walk along the edge here. Taking my time, of course. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. The color, right? We just saw the fire of the clay. Now we're seeing the ice of the glacier water. Just the contrast of color in one small trail is just so breathtaking. So I'm just going to keep following the trail along the side of the canyon here, get us some more views of it. Like I said, we're going to continue to kind of trek up higher, and we're going to see more of that canyon formation as we get further up. I should say, actually, something I didn't mention before. This flowing water that we see, it's actually the flowing water of Tokumn Creek. So I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's Tokumn. It's called Tokumn Creek. And so like I was mentioning, it's eroded this very narrow passage of water that is leading from a glacier into this marble canyon that we get to kind of marvel at. So it's very neat. It's very, very, very beautiful. And, you know, it's not an unheard story in the Rockies. It's quite common. But I do like to know the names of places. I like to know the geography. That way I can really, you know, get the sense of it and where I am and really enjoy the history and the culture. So you can see that I just saw the bridge in front of us to take us up to the canyon part, which is most accessible by the roadside. That's the famous area we're about to head to. First, of course, I'm an opportunist when it comes to things like this. I'm going to get us down to the canyon here, because this may be the only chance I get before I get up on the bridge and head upward. But look at that. I'm not going to get in too close because the water is a lot more strong and powerful here. And it has to be because it's eroded a passageway, right? So keep that in mind, right? Like sometimes it appears more calm, but essentially it's powerful enough to erode its own passage. So nice and close and personal. Just so gorgeous. So I went back up the hill. I'm going to get on the tourist area here. And you can see that it's really well maintained and created for people to come down and marvel at. We got the bridges, we got the stone stairs here. It's quite lovely. It's really well done, actually. And a lot of the canyons I've visited here in the Rockies have this kind of infrastructure that's been created, and it's been done that way so that we can enjoy the natural scenery and still be quite safe, right? So of course, you know, take that into consideration. You know, enjoy something at a safe distance, but you know, this is all a luxury, you know, so stay safe, stay on the passageway. I like to pause the camera, really let you take it in for a little bit, because it's just gorgeous. Like look, oh my gosh, I love it. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm always just blown away by water. So I'm just hiking up more of this human-made infrastructure for us on the canyon here, just taking us further and further up. So the closer I get to the top here and all the bridges, this is where Marble Canyon starts, and just beyond this a little bit towards the highway is where there's another parking lot where most people will just park and kind of just come walk this little kilometer here and just get to really take in the canyon itself. But I've done the whole trail so we get the best of both worlds. But that's why you'll see this is all fenced off, right? Because it's the canyon and a lot of people come and they stop here and they come and marvel at it. And you can see the bridges in the background there. And essentially what this trail is doing over the canyon is just zigzagging back and forth. And it's really neat like I think it's a really good design because it kind of helps you get perspectives of both sides of the canyon. And I love that. So we're zigzagging back and forth over top of the canyon, and we're just following the trail upward. So you can see we're getting higher and higher up the canyon. The water is getting lower. So we're not exactly on the mountain, but we are on a very gradual incline. And of course, the incline is made much easier for us because of all the infrastructure. But yeah, so we're kind of losing sight of the water a little bit. We're getting towards the top here where where most people are going to start flocking in. But I just want to get up to the point here and then we'll call it a day. Got a little bit more to go. So this is the last bridge up here. You can see to my right there's another passageway, but that leads up to the parking lot. And then this bridge just continues on, and we can circle back around and keep zigzagging. So we can't see the water here. We're up so high. So I'm going to bring the camera around. But look at all the stone. It's just absolutely gorgeous, like the escarpment. So look at that. Look how deep down the water is. How cool is that? We've hiked up that much on a very, very gradual incline. Now this trail is just so dynamic. It's offered us the fire and ice that's famous to Kootenay. It's given us a nice up close personal view with the lake running through our mountains. And then we get to go up high and look at the canyon from a bird's eye perspective. I just think it's absolutely fascinating. And of course, as I always like to end all of my treks on is some beautiful photos to show you that I've captured on my journey. So I really just want to recap here. So where I started was Paint Pots, and I traveled all the way to Marble Canyon. I did a total length of 9.26 kilometers, and the elevation gain was 277 meters. But that was a very, very gradual incline, and a lot of it we went up a little bit of hill and then down a little bit of hill. So nothing too drastic. And it only took me about 2.5 hours. And that was also because I did a lot of stopping to marvel and just really take a lot of pictures and take it all in. So if you want to do the whole trail, it is an out and back trail. So you're going to have to start at one point and then finish at that same point. And guys, thank you so much for joining me on my journey. And as always, keep on trekking.